You know, and we all have our 15 minutes of fame, and I'd like to take a couple of my 15 minutes to talk about the rights and the wrongs in the world of professional wrestling.
And it is for the WWE Championship.
This match is for the ECW World Heavyweight Championship.
For the World Heavyweight Championship.
The match and new NWA Heavyweight Champion.
We appreciate you guys coming out and taking your time to support women's wrestling in America.
This match is for the AWA World Heavyweight Wrestling Championship.
Welcome to another episode of the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling, presented by the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. I'm your host, Mr. Green, and it is another week in, which means another edition of WOW, which is, I guess, basically what this show has become. Is become a ongoing review of the episodes of WOW that take place, and of course we sprinkle it in with a little bit of wrestling talk. It's not totally subject to WOW, but we get in and out of that as time permits. As I stated before, I'm your host, Mr. Green. If you are listening to this for the first time, you can catch this podcast on a couple of different platforms. We are available where greater podcasts are presented, including iTunes, Podbean, TuneIn Radio, so on and so forth. So if you have not subscribed, and of course it goes out pushed out to YouTube, please do subscribe to wherever it is that you happen to be listening to me right now. I do have one notable thing that I should bring up here, because generally speaking, when I drop these podcasts, I drop them about 9 p.m. Well, I ain't going to say 9 about. It drops at 9 p.m. Saturday night, directly after WOW goes off the air. It is set as a premiere. So the second that WOW ends, the review of this of the episode that we've just watched goes up. Now, I know some people question, how am I able to do that? I don't think it's any big secret that I do view these episodes slightly ahead of the general public, which is why those reviews are there at the time frame that you're seeing them. I bring that up to say this. As I'm recording this, it is Friday night, and I'm not totally aware that if I will get this out to the Saturday morning release as normal. Now, if you happen to be seeing this as Saturday during the premiere hours, then yay, I must have made it. But I'm not entirely sure that I will do that right now. So I just wanted to make sure that I bring it up, that it is not an intentional thing. It just so happens I'm away from my editing equipment at the moment, and I don't know if I would have the time to put this together as I would the normal podcast. If I manage to get it, then that's great. If not, you're probably seeing this, or at least it went up either a Monday or Tuesday, somewhere along those lines. It's weird, man, when you have a podcast, because you have this kind of time frame. You recorded it in the future. It should be going up on a certain date, but I'm speaking past tense. So it's a lot of those little things that's going on as it relates to the podcast. But needless to say, it will go up. It will go up one way or the other. So just kind of stay tuned for that. And if you have supported it thus far, I certainly appreciate the support of the listening of the podcast and going on to the YouTube channel and viewing the videos. And speaking of that, because of this potential lost time frame that I'm dealing with, I've decided to bring a match forward a little bit faster than what I was going to originally do. Originally, it was going to drop in November, but because of all of this right now, I think I'll be trying to push that up at the very least November 1st. It would be the natural born legend, Crystal Rose, taking on the former NWA Women's World Champion, Casey Carlisle. So that'll be cool. Speaking of the natural born legend Crystal Rose, she put up some pictures showcasing her at the NWA Power TV tapings right here in Atlanta. She's getting the opportunity that she had the chance to get in the ring with Marty Bell, have what was looked to be a competitive matchup. I have to go back and I have to watch the episodes. I'm actually pretty well caught up. I just haven't seen the most recent one. I haven't seen episode 3 of NWA Power. But, as I'm talking about that, I might as well go into some of NWA Power. It is a really good show. Really good show. It's really, really easy to digest, much the same way I said about Wild Superheroes some time ago. It's an hour worth of, a little less than an hour. It has a very nostalgic feel. It's, you kind of get what you get. I mean, yes, it is shot and edited, so it's not entirely like live, and if you mess up, it's not as if they can't take it out. However, the show in and of itself is constructed to feel live. I must say, it's not, and you'll probably hear me talk about some of this as it relates to WoW. It's not overly edited. It doesn't do a lot of cuts back and forth. What happens in the ring, is the real showcase there. Well, in terms of the in-ring work, there's not a lot of cutting away from, because a lot of those guys they are pros. A lot of the girls too. I mean, I don't want to exclude them. So you can watch those matches in its entirety, and it comes off really smooth. I saw Allison Kay, the NWA Women's World Champion, and her walk out, I think, for the first time with the Mildred Burke inspired World's title, and the match that she had really good. If you haven't seen Allison Kay in action on that particular episode, this episode 2, you should go back and watch. You should watch the whole thing, but I know the people that tune in for a lot of the women's wrestling. You should go and check her out. She's fantastic. I love me some Allison Kay. So yeah, that, and I'm looking forward to seeing the natural born legend. I'm pretty sure she was just Crystal Rose there. There's a lot of people that I found that appeared on the NWA Power show that are local to me. As I have stated before, I do this program out of Atlanta or just outside of it, and so there's a lot of that talent that I get to interact or come across with on a fairly regular basis. So it's cool, man. It's cool to see them at least get the opportunity to showcase themselves on another platform. So, but all of that to say, I mean, to rope it back around to the original point of me bringing it up, the match: Crystal Rose, the natural born legend, the current Peach State Women's Wrestling Alliance women's champion, defending her title against the Queen of Wrestling, as she calls herself, Casey Carlisle, former NWA Women's World Champion. I'm going to push that out a little bit sooner than what I was going to do originally, just because of the error or the potential error in this podcast going out. So you get a little bit of a bonus happening there going forward. One other thing before we go into the review of WoW would be the release, or the recent release, of 2K20. I mean, generally speaking, I get the WWE games once a year. I go out and I usually pay for it to get the upfront deal, the download, the DLCs, and all to get the season pass. Just the whole 9 yards. But for whatever reason, I didn't go and pick it up this year. I wasn't gonna wait a excessively long time, but I just didn't get in line for it just right off the bat. I thought the commercials always look good when they release those, and they have the stars in it. I mean, the one that I liked in particular was the Hogan Austin exchange. That's like, hey, it's pretty cool to have the man be a woman inside of our club, and Hogan says, yeah, brother, but we all know who the man was in our era. And as he's saying that, the other people who might have stake on being the man start appearing, like Sting, and they all kind of slotted saying, yeah, we know. Sting, and then it's Bret Hart, and then it's Shawn Michaels. So, I mean, I thought that was a really cool commercial. They always present a really nice commercial. But in any case, I didn't go and pick it up. I was planning on picking it up, but then I saw all the reviews. Man, I don't know if I've seen the amount of crap that has been tossed on to WWE 2K like I have right now. I mean, well, I shouldn't say 2K, but just any game within that franchise. It has always had glitches. Let's clarify that. The glitch isn't necessarily a new thing. The amount of glitches that they have, however, is insane. It is just beyond ridiculous. I mean, now I refuse at this point, having seen the stuff and the reviews from various people, reading the articles, seeing the videos posted online. At this stage, I refuse to go buy that game. I might get it. One thing you can count on with a 2K game, because they're once a year, every year. You can always count on them to drop the price, I would say 3 to 4 months into that game existed. So I'm figuring about March, April, maybe. Because if they're going to have any patches to fix that game, if they're going to have anything, any updates that's going to take care of the glitches and all that stuff, it should be happening. It should be well done by then. And it should be a reasonable price, I would assume. So I'm planning on doing it about then, but there's no way that I'm picking it up now. What I would like, if there's anybody that has the game, drop a line, drop a comment in the comment section below or on our Facebook. Let me know what you thought about it. There is one, I think, that's on our page. I'll get to that. I'll read that in a second. But it is so bad that WWE Games from 2K had to issue a statement. Now, that should tell you something. That's pretty bad. And we've not gotten to this point before where they got to issue a statement on how bad this thing is. But they issued a statement. They issued it as I'm recording this today, October 25th. And it goes as follows. You can go on their Twitter and you can see it. We are listening closely to the feedback that's been shared regarding WWE 2K20 and are aware of the concerns some players are reporting. We are working hard to investigate these concerns and address them as necessary. We expect to have an initial patch ready in the next 2 weeks, with others to follow. Stay tuned to WWE Games social media channels for more information. Having a full-on trend for how bad your game is. Hashtag fix WWE 2K20. To have a full-on trend for this game says a lot. And, well, I mean, it's probably the only way that you really get heard. And so for whoever started that, you did a fantastic job. That's about the best I can say. It is I guess admirable that the company decided to address it, even though they really haven't addressed all that much. We hear your concerns and we'll get back to it and this, that. They really didn't say a lot in that, but they at least know that it exists. And like I said, making them aware of it through any means that you can make them aware does account for something, because believe me, there are video game companies that would have just as soon left that thing on the shelves without doing anything for it. They could have just moved on and let people pay the amount of money that they was going to pay. I think the lowest price that you could pay for that is like $60. I know some people paid higher than that, like $100, $120 for the gold editions and whatnot. But now this is what I don't understand. How do you mess up the gold edition, the physical items that you're supposed to get? They said that you're supposed to get something from Becky Lynch, and they wind up getting things from Edge. Like, how do you mess that up in the same year that the game is going to mess up? I'm like, really? Y'all couldn't have gotten that together? Boy. Anyway. Adam Sonata, who I want to thank for giving me a little bit of an update on our Facebook page, wrote into a post that I had about the trend of hashtag fix WWE 2K20 and that it was trending worldwide. He put this in, which I wasn't aware of at the time, and we'll keep it clean. I know some of the content creators on YouTube are legitimately giving back their paychecks and giving honest reviews about how bad the game really is. And even the guy who does the Who Chris Danger videos, the guy who has a huge boner for these games, has said that this game is a real nightmare to edit due to it glitching and technical errors all the time. From a marketing standpoint, they patched this botchy POS and focus on how to make the future games better and stable, or quit making them all together. Sony is now demanded that they repair the game, or they will no longer sell their. I'm sorry, some of this got off track. All right, let me get that. Sony is now demanded that they repair the game, or they will no longer sell because of how many people have demanded refunds. So I had to clean that up in the back end. But yeah, that was something he sent in, and that was a little bit of an update to me, because I posted about the hashtag, but I didn't know that YouTubers were out there actively giving back paychecks to because of how bad the game is. I mean, I don't know. That's something. In any case, we will move on. That was just a little bit of a side note. I just had to bring that up because I do enjoy playing the game. Sometimes I'll put it on there. You know, I don't do a lot of it because I never focused myself on fixing my stream to be able to get a smooth thing from my 2K19 to my computer. Perhaps I should do that now, because apparently 2K19 is the superior product. And if you haven't watched any of the clips of 2K20, if you wanted to know what I'm talking about, you should go online. You should go look at somebody who's done a full cut scene of those. Even the cut scenes look the graphics of that. Oh, they look terrible. Look like something. Let me not say look terrible, but they look outdated. That's probably a better way to put it. They look like they belong on a PS2, and that's fine if you had a PS2. But I'm on Xbox One, and it should look better than this. Anyhow, WoW episode 7. I think we have addressed the last time that WoW has a formula, and the formula has remained the same. Nothing has really changed here in terms of how this show is presented, and that's fine. And I know some people might have thought that I came off a little harsh or harder than normal than I would have with the WoW episode 6. And like I said, at some point it just didn't do it for me for whatever reason. It just did not make it for me. But this one is a much better episode for various reasons. Now it does have its down points, and we'll go into that. The first thing is, of course, the opening recap. We're recapping the main event story arc with Tessa Blanchard and how she's manipulated the title scene and the Beast Jungle Girl storyline. So we have now set the stage for that. It starts off with a video clip following that. Basically, Jungle Girl speaking very bluntly to the camera about what she's going to do. And then it goes into a Beast interview. Dave McClain's in the ring. The Beast comes out. This is a very short and sweet moment. The Beast doesn't say all that much. Normally, I would probably say that's crap. They need to go and do something else, but it's the Beast. And I honestly don't think that she, strong and solid, probably best for her. It's probably the best thing that she doesn't be out there cutting 10-minute promos. It's part of the aura. It's part of, be strong and solid, And if they're going to do that, stick with it. I don't mind her talking, but it's always been kind of succinct. It's always been kind of short, even like last week when she brought the contract down to Tessa Blanchard, like, sign the contract. And that's it. She didn't hold no big conversation about it, so I think it works. I think it works well for the character that the Beast is. And I don't really like saying character all that much, but yeah, for the character that the Beast is, I think it works. But this sets up the main event, which is, without them actually titling it that, it is a #1 contenders match for the Wild Championship with Tessa Blanchard barred from ringside, Jungle Girl versus the Beast. They might as well say part 2 because it's the second time that they're taking this match. And, this is to settle it all. So we go from that to the next segment. It's the Monsters of Madness video package. And this sets up the Monsters of Madness as heels, which is good. I was happy to see this. I don't have any concerns as it relates to Havok or Hazard. Nevaeh, if I'm remembering her name correctly, outside of the Wild universe. I know that they are the killer death machines as outside of WoW. Inside of WoW, they're the Monsters of Madness. I don't mind the name change. It happens all the time. It's not a big deal. They look good together. They look like a tag team. That's the first thing. They look like a tag team. And they are presented as badass. And as I just said, they are presented as heels. And in a company where I have questioned certain people, like, I don't know if they're heel, I don't know if they're babyface, I don't get it. Why is this heel taking on the next heel? They've had quite a bit of heel versus heel matches, quite frankly. But in a company where the lines are a little bit blurred and there's these shades of gray, I thought they did fantastic in setting the table for who Havok and Hazard are. And it does a good job of transitioning transitioning Havok out of the main event scene, which she was part of, into this tag team scene, which she's a part of now. So all of that I liked. All of that I thought was pretty good. It's moving along. Of course, they did it in a cinematic way. That's what they do. And this sets up the match, the first match, which is the Monsters of Madness versus the Bully Busters, which they did make a point to let you know was not part of the tag team tournament, which I don't know. You should know that already. I mean, they never show the bracketing. They never show who's in and out of the tournament. I still get on them for that. I don't get why they're holding this up, other than it gives leeway for us to change it on the fly and not be criticized for it. But there are no brackets to this tournament. But we know that the Bully Busters were eliminated. They were eliminated in round 1, I think. So, well, I'm not going to say I think they were eliminated in round 1. And we know that that's that. The Bully Busters as a team haven't really operated all that much. I think this is the second time in total that they've been on the show at all. So we have this. The match in and of itself, I think it was fine. The one criticism I've had with WoW and their matches at times, and you can take this for what it's worth, it seemingly occurs during matches where there are less experienced wrestlers in the ring. It is overly edited to the point that sometimes I cannot follow what's going on the screen. It's cutting back and forth between the overhead camera angle and the floor camera angle, then the opposite camera angle, and then the hard cam. And they do it so fast and so frequently. It's like it's jarring. I know I've said this before, but it's jarring. The constant flipping of the angles and the cameras is jarring. They shouldn't do it. It should lighten up on that. If people in the ring aren't good enough to put on a decent match without having to cover up for it every 2 or 3 seconds, then they probably shouldn't be doing it. Yeah, but and that's not a shot at anybody, because I know that they can do better than that. Havok and Hazard alone could probably walk through most people in the ring to a decent match. Just keep it basic. That's all. I mean, I'm sure that that's what they will wind up doing if they had to do it. Just keep it basic. And I don't know if that's some sort of artistic thing, but I really wish they would knock it off. So anyway, but this is a squash match. There's no reason to call anything other than this is a complete squash. It's no surprise. The Bullet Busters showed very little offense. I mean, you had a moment or two in there, but beyond that, it is all Monsters of Madness. Havok comes off as the big bad bully, no pun intended, in this match. And Hazard is technical, but she's also able to kind of not brutalize, but beat up on in a kind of bruiser-ish style. But it all is. It's a squash. It's a squash match, and the Monsters of Madness win, as they should have. Now that's when I agree with that. It's like, another thing I should say that used to get me about is they would have these video packages with people, and then they go right out there and lose. And which was funny. It shouldn't be funny, but it was like, come on. Why put this time and effort into a video package for somebody and they go right out there and lose? Now, I understand the idea that just because we put a video package on shouldn't automatically mean that they should win. And that's true, because it's almost like giving away, it's a spoiler. But, it got to a point where it's kind of happening more often than not. So I'm glad that in this case, the Monsters of Madness did their video package. They went out there and they won the match like they should have. And it was an old school squash match. It was no different than what I used to see when I was growing up, where they have somebody else on the opposite side of the ring, and it's a showcase. It was a showcase for the Monsters of Madness, who were the stars in this particular instance. The one line of commentary in that match that struck me, or that I was like, really? Was David McClain said, "Oh, the Bullet Busters almost had it." I was like, what match are you watching? No, they didn't. They didn't almost have it. I know this is a contrived thing, but in the kayfabe universe of WoW superheroes, they did not almost have it. They were getting beaten. They had one flurry or two where Keta Rush got in there and she did a couple of things, but at no point in this match did I ever feel like they were close to a victory. I'm not sure what commentary he was doing. Next segment, the video package with Sophia Lopez and Serpentine and Reyes, which is, again, kind of illustrating the puppet master ability of Sophia Lopez to have gotten these people title shots. I like this because it builds Sophia Lopez. Sophia Lopez is clearly the A manager of this show. I don't want to compare her to any other past managers, but as far as being the top manager within the WoW universe, I think that she has easily filled that slot. If we look back at Sophia Lopez from the time that she's been introduced to WoW, past the hiatuses up until this point, she has managed Cage Heat, got them back to the tag team titles, although it was short-lived. She helped Lana Starr get the Beverly Hills Babe on her side. She's been very much influential in the WoW Championship scene with Serpentine and Reyes. Even though she doesn't manage Reyes, she kind of orchestrated how that took place. Crumpus got her a main event match. So with all of this going on, Lopez I think, has firmly established herself as the manager of WoW. Everybody else that's in there that's doing that is pretty much secondary. You know, the Lopez has been at the helm of this, and at this point, I would say as she should be. Who else could fix the part? The only thing that I would say that I wish they would add to that is give us a little bit more talking time. You know, so it can really get in and understand who Lopez is and, you know, her motivations and so on. But I expect all of that will unfold as she is really kind of tied tightly to Tessa Blanchard, who is the WoW Women's Champion. And Lopez has really not been joined by the hip with her, but she has been instrumental in everything that has taken place in the main event so far. So we go to the next segment, which is the match. That is Serpentine being accompanied by Sophia Lopez and Reyna Reyes having their match, which very good match. Less cutting back and forth is still in there, but less of that, and you can get to see these ladies do what they do best. I think Reyes, Giselle Shaw, trained by Lance Storm, and I forget who Thunder Rosa is trained by, but both of these ladies have expertise outside of WoW. It shows. It was a great exchange of holds at the start. Before it got into, you know, the more high-flying stuff, it looked like two people trying to win a match with no cooperation between the two. It looked like two people that were trying hold for hold, which one is going to get the advantage here. That's what I enjoyed. And it went that far up until the point that, you know, we got our little standoff moment. They had the high-risk moves, you know, the armbar, springboard off of the top ropes, and springboard cutters, and just a lot of things showing how athletic the two of them are. And I would say, and I know I probably shouldn't be promoting any other promoters and whatnot, but that's definitely a match that I would look forward to watching again under any circumstances, whether that be WoW or on the independent. So whether that be Serpentine versus Reyna Reyes or Thunder Rosa versus Giselle Shaw, I would love to see the match again. I thought they did a fantastic job, these two. Even though Serpentine is the heel here, much like the much like the Tessa Blanchard match she had in the main event, she has her support. She has her fan support out there. Which, again, not surprising, considering the shades of gray and all that stuff that had been going on. But Reyes is the clear babyface here. Somewhere in the course of the match, the commentators kind of the commentator, David McClain specifically, kind of makes statements such as, we don't know what kind of arrangement she has with Sophia Lopez, kind of implying that she might have had some sort of to-doings with Lopez, although, they start mentioning stuff that I personally cannot see unfold in front of me yet, because they haven't done anything to really illustrate that. They haven't done anything to kind of bring that to light. They haven't dropped any hints or Easter eggs or whatever to make you believe it. So, I mean, I can only go by his statement that maybe that is the Easter egg. Maybe him saying it is the line that, like, okay, well, maybe they have something going on together. Maybe she is managing her on the side or something like that. But it just seemed a little bit out of the blue to say that about Reyes, especially when she's come across as such a baby face. Now, I will say Stephen Dickey, I believe, did notify or add the caveat that she may have been manipulated into that situation. No, David McClain said that as well. Like, he said either she is doing this or that. So either she was being manipulated by Sophia Lopez, or they were in cahoots. And so I guess that leaves room for it either way to kind of, go in and out of whether they would turn her heel or not. But in any case, the match very much worth watching if you didn't watch it already. Reyes hits the finisher on Serpentine, which is kind of like the Trouble in Paradise, although she called it low. Lopez distracts the referee, gets his attention to where he is not making the count. Reyes gets up, goes over towards Lopez and the ref, which she gets then hit from behind by Serpentine, which sets her up for the finish, which is a Serpentine driver. Boom, 1, 2, 3, and Serpentine gets the win. Reyes is unfortunately comes up a little short in this match, but still good match, very good, very enjoyable. I would watch it again. The next segment 6, the video package with Siren and Holidead, which sets up the match. The setup for these Siren the Voodoo doll moments seems pretty consistent, where Holidead is going on in the background, and it is Siren who is delivering the verbiage here. She's speaking more or less in rhyme about what they are going to do to their upcoming opponents, which is the Psycho Sisters. This is a tag team tournament matchup, which I guess would be the start of the second round. Hell, I don't know. They never really admit to it or mention it. But being that both of these teams won already, so I guess it is the second round. Nina Monet, Siren, is now and has always been good on the microphone. From the moment that I had met her and had her on the mic in front of a camera the first time, she was always good on the microphone. So this package does not surprise me at all. One thing that I guess would be considered a surprise to me, I didn't know that I know she's good talking off of the cuff. So I know if you're a promoter and you got a book and you ask her to cut a promo for you and you give her bullet points, I know she's good at doing that. What I wasn't aware that she was good of, because I assumed that this is scripted. Maybe she's doing it just right off her head. If I see her again, I'll have to ask. But I assume that this dialogue or this monologue that she's doing, the rhymes and whatnot, I assume that's all a scripted thing. I didn't know that she was good at that. And it comes off well. She has thrown herself into this character. Now, I will add, I think part of her being as good in being Siren as she is that it's not that far removed from who Nina Monet is independently. As we've seen the transition for those that have followed her over her career. We've seen the transition from Nina Monet just as heel wrestler to the Voodoo Queen, Nina Monet, and Siren the Voodoo doll. So, she has a firm grasp on who she is in the ring. And I think that translates well to the Wild universe, where she is able to do this stuff. And it doesn't require her having to be told, okay, this is who you are. This is how you're going to do it. Maybe they give her a little bit of direction, but I cannot possibly imagine that it requires her to get a boatload of this is what you're going to do. This is how you're going to say it, so on and so forth. She's better than that. So we go from that video package to a backstage scene, which has Sophia Lopez meet Lana Star. Well, actually, it's the other way around. It's like Lana Star walks up on Sophia Lopez, and she pretty much asks her, this is a short scene. Sophia, what's your secret to getting these title matches? And Sophia responds to her first in Spanish, and then she breaks it down in English. You're like, there's an old saying, you scratch my back, I scratch you, something like that. I wish I could say that was exactly what it was. I should have wrote that in my notes. But basically it's saying, you scratch my back, I scratch yours. And that brings a smile to Lana Star's face. So now we got Lana Star going into this back room with Sophia Lopez, and we've seen Lana and Sophia have business doings together before. That was another person I forgot, that Sophia Lopez kind of represented her briefly, at least in some of those side segments in the previous WoW episodes. So again, I reiterate the point. Sophia Lopez is top manager that the WoW universe has. Until I see something different, she is the one. And she at this point, she should probably remain the one. She gets most of the stuff done. More storylines can be done around her. I like Sophia. So we have that, and of course, that is going to set up for something. At this stage of the show, we don't know what it's setting up for, but we know something is going to happen. Segment 8. The Psycho Sisters, who I've been a little bit critical of, or at least 1/3 of the Psycho Sisters I've been critical of. The Psycho Sisters vignette, they're talking, they're cutting a promo in response to Siren and Holidead, which again, I can't really knock it, because this is what you're supposed to do. You got a promo cut on you cut a promo back. And I thought it was good. I thought it was good to hear Razor and Fury cut the promo back at Siren and Holidead, even though Holidead didn't speak. Holidead is the muscle, and I like her role. I'm going backwards now. Holidead is the muscle in the package, and Nina, or Siren, I should say, is the verbiage, which is not unlike when I first met her. When I first met Nina Monet, she was the talk. If you wanted the promo from her, if you wanted the promo from the team at the time, I'm sure this is all, water under the bridge for her now, but at the time, she was a part of a team called Pain and Pleasure. And if you were talking to Pain and Pleasure, then you talked to Nina Monet. Nina Monet was the verbiage. Arguably, her partner was the work in the ring at the time, but Nina has since evolved, so I'm sure that's no longer the case. But the Psycho Sisters were a little bit opposite in their vignette, in that both Fury and Razor, although Fury did most of the talking, were the ones cutting the promo back. Mezmeriah finally speaks, and she said all of 2 words. This is the first criticism that I am going to give for the show. I was enjoying the show up to this point. I like the show up to this point, but I still don't damn get it. I don't understand what is with Mezmeriah. I don't understand why she's there. I don't understand the point of having this third sister who doesn't do anything. We went a month practically, and she hadn't said 2 words. And when she finally speaks, she literally says 2 words. So we got Mezmeriah, and she does that, and she's got the weird clown makeup deal happening there, and it leads up into the next match. Now, in this particular case, I think Mezmeriah only served a purpose of being there to move forward another storyline, which I'm not entirely sure was necessary, but we'll get into that. This is a heel versus heel match, which I'm perfectly fine with because it's a tournament match, and under normal circumstances, if you're in a tournament, then you go up against whoever you go up against, whoever you're bracketed up against. That's just how the dominoes fall. So I didn't have any issue with that. I still wish they would at least let some sort of bracketing information go. I think that would be nice to know what we're dealing with as the viewers, but again, I'm pretty well convinced at this stage that they're just doing that to maintain some ability to change stuff if they want to. That is my guess. But heel versus heel, in this particular case, I don't mind it because of the tournament standings. And we start off with the 2 teams kind of trying to fake each other out. They're like, hey, we want to shake hands. But all 4 of them are shaking hands with the other hand behind their back. And Siren, I'm going to try to address her as her wild superhero name. Siren is the one that you can see on camera clearly with her fingers crossed. Now, all of them have it, but Siren's the one that's in camera shot that you can see very easily. So we know what is happening here. We know all four of them are just trying to play the next person for a sucker. And it starts off kind of as a brawl. They all just start wailing at each other, and it turns into like a exchange of hits between all four competitors until it settles itself down into a standard tag match. We have both teams who are willing to do the do what it takes to win. That being cheat, distract the referee, this, that, and the other. They start off, pronouns, Siren and Holidead start off in control of this thing, but Mezmeriah does the heel manager thing and distracts just enough to get the advantage. And so now the Psycho Sisters gain control. So I guess that's one check for Mezmeriah. She does something. She does the distracting deal, which, you know, it's always good if you're a tag team, if you heel tag team, you have a manager that gives you a little bit more of a room to kind of manipulate and maneuver the referee. Even though she didn't maneuver the referee, she just literally started talking to I think Holidead and just distracted her. So we got that, and then the Psycho Sisters take control, but they take control over Nina. I said Siren. See, I'm used to calling her Nina Monet. I'm used to that. So, take control of Siren. Siren then has to kind of work her way and fight to get to her side, makes the tag out to Holidead. Holidead now takes control and beats up on Reyes. Now it's Reyes' turn to take the beating and be pounded into oblivion and whatnot. And one thing I will say about them as a team, them being Siren and Holidead, is that they were able to maneuver the referee without the benefit of having a third person out there. It just kind of, hey, ref, look at them. They're going over there to do something. The referee goes over to stop Fury from coming into the ring and Mezmeriah from talking whatever it is she's talking. Meanwhile, they're on the other side stomping the life out of Reyes. So it works. I mean, but I guess that's just, you know, timing and experience. Who knows? Or working it out ahead of time. Either way, both teams have their cheating moments. So we are still moving along. There's no real clear-cut moment as to who's going to win this thing. Up until Princess Aussie comes running out of the blue. She charges in and attacks Mezmeriah. So this is the moment where I'm like, I guess this is the purpose of having Mezmeriah there, to give Aussie something to do, which when she does this, Holidead's already on the floor kind of squaring off with Mezmeriah, but it brings the four of them, Mezmeriah, Fury, Holidead, and Aussie, out to the floor, and now they're kind of doing that thing. Referee saying, hey, knock it off. Siren catches Razor with the Voodoo driver, and another 1, 2, 3, and Siren and Holidead become the first team to advance in the second round. This is the first time I guess we got to address the Princess Aussie story. So last week, they were talking about Aussie looks like she might be under the spell, which I didn't see, which is what I meant earlier. It was like when they say things that aren't clearly evident, or they haven't dropped the Easter egg about it, or they haven't done anything that would lead you to otherwise believe that this is taking place. I didn't see it last week. I looked at it again. I still don't see it. This week, you can see that because Aussie comes out to help the team of Siren and Holidead, which in theory, you would believe, why would she come out there and help them? They kidnapped her. They did this and that and the other. But so inexplicably, she's helping the people that kidnapped her in the first place. And my thought was, all right, they got two paths they could go with this. Because Aussie was being attacked by the Psycho Sisters a week ago when she was getting beat up by all three. And then Holidead and Siren came out and stopped it. So you have that storyline that you can play where Ozzy's like, hey, I'm returning the favor. Now we're even. Now let's stay out of my life. That could be one. Or they could be going the whole full-fledged. She got turned or converted by Siren, and now she belongs to, part of the unit or whatever. I don't. All of that's possible. But in any case, they win. They advance to the next round. The next round. I don't even know who, if they're ever going to acknowledge that. But Siren and Holidead move forth. They're the first team to do it. So now we're waiting on the rest of them. I've given the names of the people who are left in the tournament because I would imagine since we are starting this up, there should be no more entries into this tag team tournament. We should be done with that. So we got Amber O'Neal and Jesse Jones, Grits and Glam. They are in the second round. The Monsters of Madness, who we saw earlier in this episode, they are also in the second round, having squashed the Dixie Darlings the first round, which I'm not even sure why they were in the tournament to begin with. Sassy Massey and Chantillicella, they are also in the second round, as are Fire and Adrenaline. So the Psycho Sisters become the first team knocked out of the second round, and Siren and Holidead sit comfortably in the third. At least we assume, unless WoW decides to pull some nonsense and change the rules as they go along, which they very well could quite possibly do. Now, of the teams that I just named, I have no idea who belongs to what. I don't know who's bracketed up against the next person. I don't know where they would be going. If I were going to take a guess at this stage, I would think it would be Amber O'Neal, Jesse Jones against Sassy Massey, Chantillicella, and the Monsters of Madness versus Fire and Adrenaline. That would be my guess. Those would be the pairings that I could see, if for no other reason, because I don't perceive the Monsters of Madness as losing. I think that they're going to steamroll over the next person and go up into the third round. But here's where the problem lies with that amount of teams, and why I say they probably will never release the brackets, because they're going to need to have some way to just throw something in there or throw some monkey wrench in there so that they can have a finals. If you were to write these teams out, if you were to bracket them off right now, there's no way that you can have an even bracket. It doesn't mix. It doesn't jive. So some team either would have to get a bye going into the finals. I don't know why they would get one or how they would explain that, but some team or at least two teams here would have to get a bye walking right into the finals, or they're just going to have to make something up to where one of these teams are able to wrestle twice or wrestle a phantom team or something like that. But other than that, I mean, there's no way to get there. I mean, for all I know, because again, we have no information about this, and this is one of those things I've been critical on them about. We have no information about the tag team tournament. So for all we know, Siren and Holidead could be in the finals, just waiting for whoever it is that they're going to take on for the tag team titles. They could be the ones, but we won't know that, because until they unleash it or they reveal it, it's just all hearsay. And we got weeks of this. We don't know where, when, where, or how that's going to end. So I don't know. So if you wanted some critical moment in this review, there you go. It's the bracketing of the tag team tournament, and it's the character Mezmeriah, because I still do not get why she's there. If she's going to be a manager, just let her be a manager. I mean, they talked about her having an in-ring debut almost a month ago now, and she hadn't done anything. I mean, like I said, she barely spoke, much less had a match. So, I don't know. Perhaps that will all change. So we move on. We got the semi-main event, we'll say. We know who's going into next up for the titles. And we go to segment 10, the video package with the Beast and Jungle Girl, which they released early. So if you haven't seen it, you can see it on your DVR if you recorded the show. If you didn't record the show, it is on not the show, but the video package I'm talking about. It is on the Women's Pro Wrestling Network Facebook page. There's a link that shows you the package. Very well done. I've never had any issues with the video packages that they produce for their stars. I mean, I know when David McLean is talking in the WoW scope, that's exactly what he's doing. He's talking within the WoW scope. He's not addressing them as being, nominally speaking, not addressing them as being part of any other wrestling organization or on the independents. They talk about it every once in a while, but usually during a match. They certainly don't say it during the video packages. They present as if WoW is the only wrestling promotion in the world, and that's fine. I have no problem with that because they're supposed to present WoW as if it is the end all be all, and they do that. So looking at this video package, we got the setup for what will be a number one contenders match, Jungle Girl and the Beast. They are, showing the strength factor between the two of them, the physical fitness factor, the aggression, the will to be number one. They're showing all of this good stuff in the video package, and I thought it did a great job of giving it a big match feel. And it's not often in WoW that you get a big match feel. At least I haven't got that. I haven't gotten this idea. Even the championship matches weren't always like big match feels. This one felt like a big match, and so I liked it for that reason alone. I said earlier that Dave McLean said something during the match that kind of stuck with me. Like, why did he say that? And this is another one of things where within the video package, he said something to the effect of, "and a locker room brawl that shocked the world." I thought the locker room brawl as they had it was interesting to see, but we saw like 5 seconds of that. I wouldn't go so, I know, like I just said, WoW exists within its own universe, but I wouldn't go so far to say it was a locker room brawl that shocked the world when we didn't even see the locker room brawl. We saw like 2 things that happened in there. We saw a spear, and we saw, them throw a couple punches at each other, trash can get tossed around. But it wasn't like, the infamous Tupelo concession stand brawl where it just was out of control and they just fought for like 10 minutes and, that didn't happen. Maybe it did, and they didn't show the footage. But if they didn't show the footage, how would we know? If they didn't show it, it didn't happen. WoW is a TV show that happens to have a lot of wrestling in it. And so if it didn't take place on television, then it doesn't take place. That's the way that the WoW universe works. I know that these things are taped, and technically speaking, championship matches would have taken place already. But it doesn't exist yet because it hasn't aired yet. And so the same rules apply when we're talking about these locker room things. If there was some sort of big brawl locker room thing that took place over the course of 5 minutes or whatnot, if they didn't air it, it never happened. And I would hope that they would take stuff like that in mind when they go forward in the future, because I think they probably could have had a great brawl. It might have been interesting, for them to fight for, 3 or 4. It ain't got to be lengthy, 2 or 3 minutes in the locker room just to kind of set the stage of how even these 2 ladies are. I would have loved to see that, but that didn't happen. So we'll let that slide. So we got the next match. Jungle Girl comes out first. You can see people trying to shake her hand. She just walks on. She is taking the role of being the heel, and she is doing it quite well. The Beast is clearly positioned as the babyface in this. So if I'm a betting man, the long-term plans are probably wrapped around the Beast. Speaking of being a betting man, I have to address what I said in some earlier episodes, because I also said if I was a betting man, I was betting that the Psycho Sisters, the way that they were presenting them, they would have gone on to win the championship. Well, I was wrong there because the Psycho Sisters did not win. They've been bumped off. So in any case, I'm gonna just say it again. If I'm a betting man, I'm thinking that the Beast is being positioned as a top girl here, and quite possibly a future champion in WoW. This is the first time that WoW has really had the opportunity to go forward with a storyline for more than a season. So I think that plays a lot into it now that they can now have long-term storyline. So that's my bet. Now I would like to see Jungle Girl get it back. That's my personal opinion. I would like to see that, but I don't, who knows? So anyway, the main event, going to the match itself. Jungle Girl puts the Beast in jeopardy, but the Beast, turns that around. I mean, it's one of those things I do enjoy about that, is that Jungle Girl does get the opportunity to at least show that she is capable of damaging the Beast and not just get steamrolled by her. Because I think that would be a mistake, to have her just get beaten, or run over or whatever. Some of those lower tier girls, like last week when the Beast beat up on the Crumpus, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with the ones that they have to sacrifice to the Beast in order to make the Beast. But if you're going to have a main event tier, which clearly we have here in WoW, we got Tessa Blanchard, we got Jungle Girl, we got the Beast. That's the main event tier as it stands right now. And if that's the case, then Jungle Girl needs to be able to be competitive with the Beast, and she was. And even with that, she gave way to the Beast when it was necessary to give way to the Beast. She beat her up a little bit, ran across the ring, charged at a full throttle, tried to catch her with a high cross body, and it showed off the Beast's strength. She catches her, turns that into a power slam, boom, goes down to the mat, and now Jungle Girl's writhing in pain, on the mat. It's little moments like that where, it's kind of like those old school wrestlers back in NWA. It's like, yeah, you could talk a tough game, you could be tough, you can do all that, but when the time is right, you got to back it off a little bit. You got to throttle it down. And I thought that was one of those moments that Jungle Girl had. I am convinced that her wrestling style, as it stands today, stems from the fact that she had a flirtation with the independent wrestling circuit. I know she learned wrestling from WoW. I know she learned the moves. I know she's always physically fit and all that stuff like that. But when WoW ended in 2001 and she chose to pursue wrestling for a little while longer, I think she did it for a year and a half, possibly 2 years, just wrestling under her given name, Erica Porter. She learned a lot, and she admitted that she learned a lot, at least learned, through psychology, learned how to tell the story in the ring where she doesn't have to, lay it out necessarily for people to she didn't have, you don't have to spoon feed it to the people through the verbiage. You can tell that story through the physical body language that's going on in the ring, and she has done that. Every time I've seen Jungle Girl, wrestle in the ring, I know some people would say, the pace is a little bit different, but the pace is such to where anybody that's watching it can understand what's going on. You can look at that match and you can see what's happening. You can understand that I'm working the back. You can understand that I'm trying to stay away from her strength and her body. You can understand that I'm faking her out and trying to get the advantage any way that I can, which she did. They had a shoving contest in the beginning stages of it. Jungle Girl goes down, which shows the Beast as potentially being the stronger of the two. Jungle Girl gets back up and she's shaking her head like, okay, yeah, right. You know, you want to show me who's strong. She flexes, shows that body that she had, which you know, I can't say it enough. Genetic marvel, that Jungle Girl. But Beast is pretty, you know, she's a thicker frame and you know, probably a genetic marvel too. But Jungle Girl flexes, shows that body of hers, and like, yeah, you want to show me how strong you are? Show me how strong you are. And fakes her out into going into a test of strength. Raises her hand. As soon as the Beast looks up to try to lock up the hands with her, she gets kicked in the guts. That right there. Those subtle moments, those little things that she does that help move the story along, it means a lot. And I think it works well. So anyway, we've got this. We got the match going. I think Jungle Girl's objective, or I should say, you know, let's pull back the curtain. I think the objective there was to make sure that the Beast came off as strong as she possibly could. And she still came off strong. Even though there were these moments where Jungle Girl took control, the Beast never looked like she was lacking for power. So we have Jungle Girl who manages to get the Beast down. She puts her onto the mat, plants her. Now we know what she's doing. She is going up top for her finish, her coup de grace. She's trying to hit that splash because it has been a protected move in the Wild Universe. When she hits it, the match is done. She goes up, goes outside, prepares to go up, I should say, and then out from the back comes the Lioness, who grabs Jungle Girl's leg, pulls Jungle Girl down, goes down to the mat. Jungle Girl pushes off or fights off the Lioness. Lana Star's out there also. She sees Jungle Girl, gets into the ring, and backs up into the Beast. She now feels the Beast on her. You know, she has that moment like, oh, gosh, she's behind me, isn't she? She has that moment, turns around, the Beast picks her up, plants Lana Star, boom, right there on the mat. Now, I will say this. I have to give credit where credit's due because I gave it last week and I want to give it now. Even if Lana Star is incapable of wrestling, and I'm not sure that she can wrestle. I know that they said, hey, I've been cleared, I can wrestle. But even if she is not capable and they're just doing smoke and mirrors, you got to give her credit that she is willing to take the bumps. You got to give her credit for that. You know, because even though I think Sophia Lopez is the top heel manager there, Lana Star is the only one that actually you have seen get put into the ring and get her comeuppance. Like, I take the punishment so that my client or my charge or, you know, whoever I'm representing doesn't have to. And that's basically what Lana's done. The Lioness hasn't lost the tag team match as Lana Star did. The Lioness didn't get brutalized or beaten up by the Beast. Lana Star did. So I like that. I like that approach. I like that Lana Star is willing to take the bumps for it. It speaks highly of her and Lana Kinnear, in my opinion. That you know, because I'm pretty sure that if she didn't want to do those bumps, she wouldn't have to. I'm pretty sure that if she just decided like, hey, I just want to be a personality here and I don't want to, you know, don't bump me around and stuff like that, they probably wouldn't do it. She's been there long enough to where they would give her some slack. I'm 98% positive of that. But in this particular instance, she takes it. And, you know, I'm not going to say good on her because I'm sure it still hurts her body. But, you know, bravo to her and much credit to her for doing it. But in any case, that happens. The referee sees all of this. And then we get the DQ. Jungle Girl wins the match by disqualification, which forwards her as the number one contender now to Tessa Blanchard. And we see Tessa, you know, as Jungle Girl says that into the camera, and the commentators pretty much verified as like, you know, a win is a win here. Didn't say how you won as long as you won. So she wins by disqualification. That means Jungle Girl is now the number one contender, and the Beast is, for the time being, eliminated from that mix-up. So we see Tessa. She's looking at this on her tablet. She's watching the show and laughing like, ha, I got what I wanted, or whatever the case may be. And it is suggested through that piece of video footage that Tessa Blanchard somehow manipulated or controlled or had something to do with the outcome. And that was the full-on review of WoW. Now, I will add one thing to the whole deal here with Tessa Blanchard, or I should say the main event scene in general. And I know I mentioned this on a previous review. I don't mind the convoluted endings. I don't. But I'm starting to feel like they should minimize these convoluted endings, these run-ins, these misfires, these no contests, these DQs. Of the time that I've watched WoW, we're 7 episodes in, which is basically about, we're heading on 2 months, essentially. Of the time that I've watched WoW and reviewed the show, I've seen that I can recall one clean finish. Pretty much. I think that maybe 2. The rest of them have been, just run-ins and interference and this, that, and the other. If it hadn't been Tessa Blanchard in a championship match, the ending has been in dispute, seemingly. I mean, if anybody out there can recall another one that I'm missing, because it's been a while, but if I'm thinking about that, if we got 7 episodes of this, 2 of them finished fine. The other 5 were in some level of dispute. Tag team match thrown out. Match between Jungle Girl and the Beast thrown out. Or in some sort of dispute. Interference by somebody else. It's just been one thing after another with that. And I'm not necessarily opposed to run-ins or no contests or DQs and things like that. I just don't want it to be overwhelming in the main event scene. Even if that finish led to Jungle Girl getting a disputed pin, I would have preferred the pin. If Lana Star and Linus came out and somehow interfered, which Jungle Girl then was able to take advantage of, she hits the Beast, nails with a splash, 1, 2, 3, and we move on. Then we got something, but I don't, I'm not fond of it, and I can understand part of that is probably let's not have the Beast lose by pinfall. Let's keep her strong. And by that, she will always be able to claim that, well, it took this for me to lose, or I was never pinned, and this, that, and the other, which is fine. But cases like this kind of work you into a corner. It backs you up. It's one of them things where it's hard to give you a justified ending and not sacrifice somebody's record. We just saw that not too long ago with The Fiend and Seth Rollins and the Hell in a Cell, and them doing the DQ finish inside the Hell in a Cell, which is stupid. But they did that because they clearly did not want to pin The Fiend. We got The Fiend here, but he's going into a main event championship match. We don't want Seth Rollins to lose, but we don't want the Fiend to lose either. It's very similar. Like, we got Jungle Girl, who's the legacy of this company. And she's a tough cookie, and she needs to be presented as such. But we got the Beast, and we don't want her to lose, but we don't want Jungle Girl to lose either. So let's construct a win that Jungle Girl can advance without having to beat the Beast, and the Beast can lose without actually being pinned. And that's fine. But I wish that if they were going to do that, they would have removed the preceding screw job finishes of over the past couple of weeks. Let's have some definitive wins. Pinfall or submission. Like everybody else gets pinfalls and submissions except for the main event. It's like how are these guys the top of the top and then unable to get these pins? They need to have them. They need to have some. You know, even when Jungle Girl separated and she was beating up on Sassy Massey. She was beating her up and she clearly was going to win the match, but she didn't pin him. They took that, it ended in basically a no contest where it was a great showcase for Jungle Girl, but it didn't. She didn't get that pinfall, and maybe that's nitpicking, but to me, I think if you're gonna hold that position and you're gonna be strong, then she should have it. She should have that pinfall victory that gets her where she needs to be. It moves her forward. But that's just my 2 cents. Leave your comments about that below. Leave your comments and your questions below. For anything that you may want to talk about as it relates to WoW. I've addressed one comment earlier about the video games, so that I guess that's my one per show. But you can email me at mrgreen75@hotmail.com if you have a question that you want presented on air, or you can leave a comment below either here on Facebook, our Facebook page. I don't know why I was saying Facebook YouTube channel. That's ridiculous. But our Facebook page, Women's Pro Wrestling Network, just type that out. You will find us. Or you can, like I said, leave the comments below on these releases, these podcasts. Again, this podcast is available where greater podcasts are presented. iTunes, Podbean, TuneIn, Spotify. There's a bunch of them where you can go, and if you haven't gotten it, just search it out. Just Women's Pro Wrestling Network. WPN is the thing that you would do under any podcast, and we should pop right up. I've never had a problem looking for it, and this pushes out to all of those. The MP3 version of this podcast is available. I always try to link it off. So if you are somebody that likes to listen to your stuff on the go, the link should be in the description below. You should be able to click that, download it, and listen to it on your chosen device. And that should do it for this episode. I already said that we are looking to push out a match really soon. The Natural Born Legend, Crystal Rose, taking on the Queen of Wrestling, Casey Carlisle. Keep your eyes open for that. That should be a good one. Hopefully we got some more matches available for you. And remember, these matches are always free. And speaking of free matches, you should go to our website, WPNWrestling.com, where we have just 24 hours a day of matches and content all day, every day, 7 days a week. It is nothing but the Women's Pro Wrestling Network. So if you are a fan or if you're a supporter, that is the best way. That is one of the best ways that you can show that support is by logging on. Well, not logging on, just going to the website and clicking that button and letting that run, because those analytics mean the world. They show that we do have the audience that we have claimed that we have. So if you are watching it, be sure to check it out there. Be sure to check us out on YouTube. Be sure just to check us out wherever you happen to be, wherever you can find this stuff. We appreciate it. So, with that, if you would be so kind, make sure that you subscribe. Click the bell if you're on YouTube. Subscribe to wherever you're listening to this podcast and leave us a review. Leave the comments and your questions, and I will get to it next episode. And, I forgot to read the poll for last week's show. That being last week's WoW show. So I'm going to do that real quick before we move on and before we close out the program. I did put a poll up on Facebook asking what people thought about WoW's episode 6. And it remains overwhelming. It remains an overwhelming positive for WoW. 88% voted it was great. The options here are it was great or it sucked. And out of 41 people that voted, 88% of you voted it was great. 12% voted it sucked. So, hey, I guess the vote is in as it relates to our show. And And I forgot to read Eric's comment. I'll get to that. I promise, Mr. Hoffman. I don't want to carry the show on too long. It will go up onto the next episode. But there you have it. It is an overwhelmingly positive response. And just real quick, his comment is basically, and I'm not doing it verbatim, but he said it reminds him of the Glow days without the so-called humor and shtick that the Glow used to have. And he prefers watching this show over the snake oil Vince McMahon shows. So, hey, there you have it. That's high praise, man. So thank you, Eric, for leaving that comment below. I just had to get that in real quick because I might forget next week. So I'll just do it now. That's it. That's it. The new poll will be up. It will be available for you to vote what you think of the episode. Did you like it? Did you not? Leave your comments. I make my opinions about the shows public every week. You know what my opinion about the last one was? I wasn't very fond of it. It was good, but I thought it could, it had its issues. But always leave your comments because I love reading them. I like seeing what other people thought about it. I love the conversation about it. I love to be engaged with those things. So with that note, I will say that is the full show, the full review. Thank you for tuning in to the Rights and Wrongs of Pro Wrestling. And this is Mr. Green saying so long, everybody, and we will see you on the next go round.